YouTube, how's it going? Rob, Chicken Ranch Homestead. Saw in the beginning of the video, Melody out throwing some scratch on the pasture where that area used to have some hay, and then we're just trying to mix it up and get things going there, get some grass growing. Today we're going to talk about our waters, our feeders, and some of our birds that we have. I'll try to put down below when I go through the birds how many eggs per year they should drop, and that is first year. That is once they start laying, how many you should get in that first year. As you know, with chickens you lose production. I believe it's 20% per year. So when you get a barred rock that lays 300, the next year it's going to lay like, well, some people say 280, but really you're going to lose about 20%. So I'll do the math here. But that's how many eggs you should get a year if you're prime. Like if your bird's in excellent health, it's getting everything it needs, it's able to forage some of its own bugs and whatever, not just kept in a feedlot. You know, some are kept in feedlots and they'll still produce a lot, but they're also pumped with a lot of artificial light. All right, so let's get to it. I'll show you some of the birds first. Then after the birds, we'll show you some waters and feeders. And then we'll kind of end up this video. And here we have Karen, our sea bright. She's pretty small. She's a Bantam. And here's Gold Mama. She's a sea bright too. Knows the difference in colors. Bantam sea brights can be golden black and kind of been called wine dots, like Bantam wine dots, but she's actually a sea bright. Okay, here we have a black sex link hen. She's sitting on eggs and a few that she's not sitting on. Time to clean that out. Now there's Spike. Spike is a green egg layer. Spike has a lot of very light colored feathers. She's really kind of an oddball. She's got a little spike head. As you can see, she's been hassled by the roosters lately, but she's a green egg layer. Here we got a couple girls. That one there is a Wellington. That one I'm not sure. That's a black sex link. All right, the black one there is Beatrice. She is a black sex link. There's Freddie. He's an Americana rooster. There we have Henrietta. She is a production red. She's a little beat up right now. Okay, here's a barred rock. There's a green egg layer. And what you can do is you can look at their ears and you'll see the color, and that's what egg they lay. There's Dottie. She's a wine dot. Here's an Americana. Of course, they lay blue eggs. She runs off. Okay, I'm going to take you around pretty quick, and I'm going to show you our feeder that we're using. We use multiples, but the main one I'm going to show you here is the main feeder. We also have a couple hanging ones, but they're not really used that much by the chickens. And then our main waters that we use, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, here's our main feeder that we use. See, Beatrice and Dottie are hanging out there. But what this feeder is a 48 pounder, I believe. So it almost holds a 50-pound bag of feed. We leave this feeder out. It's out all the time. We keep feed in it, and they just free range, and they'll also come and get food whenever they need it. So that feeder is great for us. It only has to be filled about twice a week, and not fully, but when we get a bag of feed in, we just pour it right in. The feed we use here is ChemBlock non-GMO pelletized feed. It's a layer feed. The turkeys eat it too. I'm fine with that. They're just not growing as fast because it's not as high protein. But we put that in there, and what we have found out is waste is really gone down. A chicken and a turkey all all poultry, they are a huge waste of feed. They like to kick it all around this thing. We used to have a mill, grind up our feed, non-GMO feed, and we'd have it all ground up. And then we'd buy like 460 pounds at a time, and it'll last us about 6 weeks. And most of that feed ends up on the floors of our coop or inside behind the barn, which just is kind of depressing, to be honest. It's a lot of money, and it's all sitting on the ground. So a lot of times we'd end up picking it up, shoveling it in, and put it in other places such as the pig pen. But we've gone to this pellet feed, and what we have found out is our waste is like nil. We're down to probably about 5% waste. I'm probably putting in 200 pounds per 6 weeks now. So it's half on the ground. But what I've noticed though is I'm feeding turkeys right now. So they're eating most of that feed. So in reality, our chickens are probably only going to go through about 100 pounds in a month, which is a lot less than what they were going through. They were going through 250, 300 pounds in that time. So that's here's Freddie's over at our 5-gallon water. You see these all the time. We have multiples of these. We have 2 of them. This one's out near the feeder, the main feeder. The 5-gallon waters are great. They do take, 5 gallons, so it takes a while for them to drink. With about approximately 30 birds, right now we'd only have to fill that about once a week. It's going to get super hot, so we will be filling that more. They always have an ample amount of water in it. Now we do add a little apple cider vinegar in there with the mother, and just a little bit, not a lot, 1/8 of a cup or something. And we add that, and that keeps algae growth down, but it also is good for the birds, for their gut health and everything. And we do that with a lot of the animals here. We'll put apple cider vinegar in. With the sheep and the goats, sometimes we'll put in some electrolytes, and for the donkey. But that's kind of one of the things we do, is we just have that water out. They can get to it anytime. It's always full. We have, I said, the multiple bell waters. Probably didn't. But we have multiple bell waters on the property too. They pretty much all sit by the one coop. They're probably in the frame sooner or later, and Karen was drinking out of it. So that's kind of where we're at, on waters. We have quite a few of them, but they're just scattered throughout. So birds can get water at any time. We also have a sump pump that drains out into the yard, which they will go out and drink that water. It's just groundwater, folks. It's not going to kill them. It's nothing bad. It's actually filtered groundwater at this point. Our well's only like 35, 40 feet deep. So the bottom of our basement is probably where that sump is probably 8 feet. So they're almost drinking the exact same water we drink. Fine little battery here. So let's get to one thing. Bantam. Why do you do Bantam chickens? Well, at first they were a novelty item. We were at a place and auction house, and they had one with mom and 3 chicks and 1 other. And we bought those. It ended up being Dum Dum Picklehead, which was our rooster for a while, but he got by a car. And then Mama, which is a Seabright, which we can't find her right now, so she's probably sitting on some eggs somewhere. And then some other babies, but they didn't make it through the winter. But we do Bantams mainly because we just got them. And we did Tractor Supply one year, and they were selling them off for, I think, $1 or something like that, or maybe $1. And Melody bought all of them. I think she bought like 30 of them at one time. We sold a bunch, and some passed. But so we have a Bantam flock. Now, most of our Bantams do help us on keeping the flock fresh and new. They are immensely broody, especially the Seabrights. They are constantly trying to hatch eggs, and they tend to be decent mothers. They do hatch a lot of Bantam chicks, which kind of stinks, but it doesn't. But they do produce eggs, and they're a much smaller egg. They're kind kind of between a quail egg and a small chicken egg. They're in the middle. I call them like a little one shot. You hard boil them and it's pretty much one bite, they're down. And they're kind of nice for that. Like if you're doing a simple like egg McMuffin type thing or some kind of egg sandwich or burgers. I love egg on burger. They work great for that because they're nice and small. They're bigger than a quail egg, but they're not like a small chicken egg or a medium chicken egg. So that's why we do a lot of Bantams. So mainly for that egg, and also just because they're broody and they hatch a bunch of new chicks for us. Now, that's part of the other thing about our flock is, yeah, we have some purebreds here, but those are being phased out because we have different roosters to hens. So they will end up being phased out. They will end up being barnyard mix. But a lot of times you can tell the dominant chicken in it. We have a chicken that's always out in the pasture by itself. It's clearly a Brahma chicken, but it isn't a full-blood Brahma. But that's what it looks like, that's what it acts like, and it's got the height of it. So that's a lot of things behind the Bantam chickens. They're not for everyone. They really aren't. But if you're in a small town and they allow you to have 5 chickens and you don't want large chickens, get a Bantam. 5 Bantam hens will do you fine. They'll produce and whatnot, but the problem is you're going to end up having broody hens sooner or later, so you have to break brood, which is usually caging them by themselves, no eggs, no nothing, and put them in a small cage, and that'll usually break it so where they can't be on the nest. So then you're going to have little water feeders and little feeders. It just kind of becomes a mess. But if you don't need a lot of eggs and you just want to get some Bantams, they'll work fine. Not every single Bantam's going to be broody at the same time. Okay, so let's go kind of get towards the end here, and I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of my favorite chickens really quick and what I would buy if I was buying for production and trying to sell eggs or farmer's market, whatever. First chicken I definitely buy would be Barred Rocks. I just, hands down, Barred Rocks. They produce a lot of eggs and they're nice and brown and they're good size. Just Barred Rocks, bar none. Second one I'd buy, I'd probably go with Rhode Island Reds. Lay a lot of eggs, good looking egg, definitely something to go with. Third would be Black Sex Links. Black Sex Links are a cross of Barred Rocks with Rhode Island Reds. They are amazing birds. They're very healthy. They're really big. They produce a nice brown egg too. Then fourth, I'd probably go with Green Egger, just for the color. They don't have the production, but they definitely have some style, and it does break up the monotonous of a white or brown egg. Then one bird that I do not have, and I've never had, would be a leghorn, white leghorn, and I'd probably go with a white leghorn. You know, and those are all production birds. They produce a lot. And I'd probably even look in production reds because they really do well too. But they don't have much personality. They're kind of thin. But in the sense of style, I have a couple that I go with. I will always go with like a Copper Moran rooster. And a very specific rooster, I'd like a Blue Birchin Copper Moran, which I had before, and he ended up getting mean, and he ended up going to auction. I'd also like a Standard Americana rooster. Other birds for color would be any kind of Wyandotte. They're great. They look nice. They're broken up. I had a Colombian Wyandotte for a while. I'd really like to have some of those again. Other birds for color, you know, there's a bunch out there. The Brahmas are really nice. And the Seabright Bantam is a very nice bird. when you get the white ones. You can get the black and gold sea brights, which look like wine dots, but they tend to be a little crazy, to be honest. But that's it for birds, feeding, feeders, and waterers for us. I'll come back again for a third part of the series, and that's kind of just going over just odds and ends and things to think about before you buy a flock, and the things that we've made mistakes here with. So remember, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you again here at the Chicken Ranch Homestead. Peace out.